In 2025, one simple idea took root to give India's local business owners, creators, and dreamers a voice that would echo far beyond their city limits. I'm Kabir. People say I'm honest, soft hearted, maybe even a little old school in my values, but I believe in something timeless the power of human stories to inspire action. That's why I started Kabir Vani Business Edition podcast.
Welcome, Nisreen, to Kabir Wani Podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me here, Kabir. I'm doing great.
Wonderful. So you're a blend of, coaching that you have. You are into relationship counseling. You're into focusing on the new youth and helping them have a better life for themselves.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about it.
So, Kabir, I am a counseling psychologist and I call myself a blend of a counselor, a therapist, and a coach because my work draws from all the three worlds. So, like a counselor, I provide a safe, non judgmental space for a person to completely feel heard. And as a therapist, I work with individuals and couples, deal with patterns and wounds or some unspoken needs which may be blocking the connection. And as a coach, I'm more future focused. So I provide them with strategies and tools which will help them build and work on themselves. That is the reason I think I'm a blend of all of these three things put together.
Wow. What pulled you into this space? I mean, it's very unique of what you're doing when it comes to relationships, especially because we're in India, right, where our
Yeah.
elderlies are the one who makes our relationships, right? So what got you into this space?
For me, Kabir, it all started at home. I have two beautiful teenage daughters. And over a course of time, when I started having these deeper conversations with them and their friends, what I realized was the younger people are looking for honest, practical solutions to their real life issues like love, trust, conflicts, heartbreak, and they didn't know who to turn to. Of course, they were having the conversations with the parents, but it always came with some kind of advice which they felt is not something, they never felt heard. They always feel, parents come from that space and they're always giving them their advice. All you need with the younger people, I think, is sometimes to hear them out and to walk the path with them. I don't know if you've heard all these new terms that they use, these days, orbiting and benching and stuff like that. Situationship. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So all these kind of things these are just confusions in their mind, is what I would say.
Correct.
They need the right kind of guidance, and human minds are not prepared to deal with this confusion in relationships.
Correct.
So, and very easily they opt out of it. So this is from where I came, and I realized, if they get the right kind of guidance, somebody who tells them, that these are not what we are made for. You need to understand and deal with the emotions in the right way and form the kind of relationship you're looking for. Orbiting, situationship, benching, these are not long-term things.
Correct.
Even the younger people, they realize that, but they are so lost in this journey.
It becomes
So-
challenging.
Yes, it
Of
becomes
course,
challenging.
Of course. And then when you talk to your parents, they're like, just pray and everything will be all right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they always get that angle of spirituality,
Yeah.
like.
Do some meditation, do prayers, and everything will be fine.
And honestly, the younger people are even exploring those options.
Of course, I think
But not
spirituality
getting-
has gone. I think we are going back again to Satyug.
Yeah, I
slowly,
agree. That's a very good
because-
trend,
Absolutely, absolutely.
But then what happens is they are still not getting the answers.
But how are you driving them through the clarity of this particular thing, and what's the direction that you're using?
See, initially when I started this work, it was more about creating a space, and clearing up their confusion and just giving them a sense of direction. But very quickly, I realized they are looking for a space where they can be themselves, where they can discuss it out and work on their problems. So that is the kind of space which I provide for them. I have tools which, empower them so they can see the small shift which is happening in them, and it's not that they're hoping for something like that, they're experiencing it.
Correct.
So that is how they want to take it forward and then be associated with someone who is sometimes on their level, sometimes guiding them as a friend, and sometimes being the coach. That is the reason I say my work is like a very unique blend of all kinds
All
of
kinds.
tools put together for them.
Correct. Now, because we are in India, of course, right now, it's a beautiful country that we are, but somehow emotional work and counseling has still not been taken as a go-to tool, right?
Absolutely, I agree
Whenever
with that.
usually बोलते कि अच्छा अपन एक psychologist के पास जाते हैं या फिर if you go for someone who can help you, the first thing comes into their head is like, oh, I'm not crazy,
I'm not crazy.
right? What were the challenges that you faced at this point with this?
To be honest, years earlier, I would say it was quite a stigma attached to this, and there was like a taboo. Even within the family, they would not be honest and speak about it. Like, I have actually had children come to me, like the youngsters, but they wouldn't want to tell their parents about it. They would find out about me or, mental health professional through some other place and go to them, seek the help, and yet not be comfortable talking about it. So there has been a very minute shift, I would say, in the understanding of the thing. I'm one of those persons, I wouldn't say social media is all bad. Let's filter out and get the good out of it. So that has also created a sort of an awareness that, there are people out there who can help you, and it's normal to seek help from them. One very important thing which, I try to make people understand is going to a psychologist, a counselor, a coach, whatever name you want to give us, it's not when the things are broken. It is for people who are experiencing some kind of support lag and they come to us. So that is the gap which we can fill. It is not for the weaker sections. I would say it is for somebody who has the strength and the courage to identify that they are looking for some kind of a support. And if you're doing that, I think you should be very, very proud of yourself.
I agree. I couldn't agree more than what you just said, because I feel emotional help is something which is very much required, because they're coming into a non-judgmental space,
Right.
right, and helps them have better clarity.
Yes.
Do you have a success story that you can share with us?
Quite a few, in fact, but since I work more in the relationship space, I'll tell you a very small thing that has stuck with me. There was this couple who came to me at a time when they were like barely speaking to each other. It's not that they didn't want to be together, it is just that they didn't know how to navigate the challenges. During many sessions, one day what happened was the wife was sharing, and in a very, very huge emotional state that she was in, and all that the husband did, he was like sitting with his arms folded and leaning back, and for some reason he just like walked, leaned into her, and he just so simply said, I hear you. And I was present, and I can tell you it was such a beautiful moment, because the lady's entire body stance moved down, and she just kept looking at him and she started crying. So that shift, that small shift, it was just 3 words which he said, I hear you. And that gesture of moving towards her, that has stayed with me and gives me a lot of confidence, like I know why I do what I do. And I look for all these small wins, because these small shifts are the reasons it can take you to bigger mindset changes that couples come for. I always tell them, don't come looking for overnight changes in your relationship. Take it step by step. Look at small wins, and then bigger changes can follow.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more to this. Now, when you said that, you say that it's not an overnight win,
Yes.
right? It's a long process.
It
So,
is.
how do you make them be committed to this particular transformational journey that you work with?
See, what happens if you're aware of that there is some sort of a help that you need. That means that is like a small battle won, that they realize that they want to be together or they want to make it work. So when they come to me, sometimes even one session helps a lot, because they get the clarity, ki, all right, there is someone else who empathizes with us and is going to help us change or maybe look at things differently. Sometimes it is just that they may both not be wrong, they may both not be right. It is just from where they stand that they feel, okay, I'm right and he's wrong or she's wrong. So when they come for that one session also, understanding and getting a small tool, and as I said, a small shift, when they go back, they realize that, okay, I am going to be heard by this person. This person sees me for who I am. And when that happens, then they themselves come back and they get committed. And each session brings out something new for them.
Very
So they want to commit to a longer thing till they,
Okay.
yeah.
So you have processed it out really simple for them.
Yes,
So
for
it's
them.
not overwhelming as well.
Not at all.
And they're able to know that, ki, acha, okay, you know what, just one baby step at a time and things will be okay.
See, in today's world, with all the awareness that is there, it is still not very easy for men, I would say, to accept, that there are some emotional challenges. Because the kind of nurturing I think the boys go through, it is like hum sab kuch jheel sakte hain, you can't be vulnerable.
Boys can cry.
Yes, boys can
Or
cry.
let's
and
say men
should.
can cry. I think that's
Men
what it
can
is.
cry. No, it begins with boys
Boys.
can cry, and when you become men, yes, you can cry and you should cry. I actually have had couples where the woman has been so surprised because the men have cried. And they have like, ma'am, I have never seen, he's lost a parent and this is not how he has broken down, like what happened here. So it is years of build up that happens. And the moment they get that space or they, feel comfortable, there have been times, and it is very, very necessary, but it is important that you learn to process those emotions
Correct.
and let go of it.
Hmm.
तो जो हमारी ये अपब्रिंगिंग होती है ना कि men boys मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता.
It's just
These
the only
cliches.
movies.
Oh, that's a movie by then.
Yeah, that is in movies, na? कि मर्द को
हाँ,
दर्द नहीं होता.
मर्द
Was
को दर्द नहीं होता.
that's a
Yeah, these
dialogue of
kind
that.
of cliches, I think we have to make do with,
Correct.
And when the nurturing is happening, let the men, the gender specific mat banao. Emotions are not gender specific.
Correct.
Everybody feels it the similar way, but what is the behavior is what is different from a male to a female.
Correct.
But give the permission to a guy to cry, to express.
And makes
So,
things much easier
much
and better.
easier. Yes.
No, absolutely. So I know, as much of my knowledge, I think you have 2 courses that you have come up with. And what made you, what kind of relationship gap that you saw, which
Yeah.
made you come up with that course? And what are the names of it?
So see, the one of the things which I'm like really very passionately trying to advertise and bring it to the fore for everyone to understand is called wedding to marriage. In India, it has become, I think, one big thing about the big fat Indian wedding. So the youngsters, especially the girls, are only aspiring for the big day, the wedding. The ceremony is more important than the marriage. What comes after all your special days are over? So this gap because of all my experience, I realize when they come to me after probably 3 years of marriage or 5 years of marriage, what has happened is that they focused all their energy in creating that special day and the memories and all that. And then after that, they haven't prepared to have those very critical conversations, about maybe conflict management, financial issues, and all that. So these gaps is what made me think if we can have a premarital coaching program, prepare them. I'm not saying, I'm giving them a tool where there won't be disagreements. There definitely will be disagreements. There will be conflicts. I want to give them the tools, want to give them the support that would be needed to deal with it when it happens, and a lot more clarity in what they are getting into. Many times people have known each other, they have been dating since years, and many, many critical questions have not been addressed. Like
Correct.
who's going to stay where and what kind of career goals they have. They have just taken it for granted, that he's going to be continuing work or she's going to be. Those are very things unsaid between them.
Unclear.
Unclear.
How are they going to get into
Yes.
that?
So these are very problem. I mean, probably they don't want to deal with the hard-hitting questions, but it is needed.
It is there.
It is needed.
Absolutely.
So for me, wedding to marriage, what I'm trying to say is wedding is great that you're all planning for it. But what about the marriage? After that is over, you need to be able to be equipped to deal with the day-to-day going-ons with each other.
Correct.
You cannot be relying on what happened like 2 years back and, living on those memories.
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, what is I feel, to come to the first part of your answer that you gave, I think Karan Johar is the one to be blamed because the larger than life wedding that he has shows on his movies.
Yes, so
That's-
that is the social
that's
media
just-
thing which we, yes, right,
क्या वो
absolutely.
5 लाख का क्या घाघरा and all that.
No, I'm not taking away that
Yeah,
fact.
that-
Let the couple have that moment, let them feel the most
Hmm.
special, and okay, the king, the queen, the princess and prince and princesses, all is fine. but they have to run their kingdom.
No, but that's what I'm saying. So in that movie, it's only until there. No?
It's only till there, and they
Huh.
lived
So
happily
happily. They
yeah.
don't show the happily ever after. I think they should start like the movie
After
now
that.
that all the
What
maslas has gone.
Yes.
They've got married. Now what happens?
Now what happens?
That would be right,
Exactly.
right? So that's something. So
So
here's
that
another
is
movie
where
for
I
you.
come into the picture.
Mm.
Ki abhi everybody has gone back home.
Yeah.
Now what?
Now what? Yeah.
Now
So
what?
see, this is a script for you, Karan Johar. Something out for it. You know.
You will, I'd like to share over here something. A couple came to me after 2 to 3, I think about 2.5 years of being married, and they had a very, very beautiful wedding. And they were referred to me by a friend who first shared their video. So it was like a pre-wedding. I mean, probably it was like a movie only. Karan Johar, all those things were there. They went away for a month of honeymoon.
Wow.
So after coming back home, when they left, there were like probably 50 guests, and they were being still made to feel the special, the newlyweds and everything. But when they came back, it was just them and the parents.
Mm.
And then slowly, there was nothing to look forward to. So this entire wedding was being planned since more than a year. So entire whole of that year, they spent planning the wedding, and there was like so much happening. Like in our country, people give so much importance to the boy and the girl who are going to get married. Everything is what they
Around
want.
them,
And
yeah. Everything is orbiting around
everything
them.
is orbiting around them. And then after the wedding, then everybody goes on to their life. This girl actually went through a depression,
Oh.
not knowing what to do next.
Correct.
Because suddenly this focus shifted from her. Everybody went back. So she was left wondering what happened. Yeah, what hit me?
Yes,
Where is
of course.
everyone who pampered her for that year? So,
Okay, makes sense. Now, if I have to ask you one common relationship myth that you would have to give to your the couple right now, what would that be? The young couple.
So, what I've observed, the young couple, they feel love is enough. Love will see them through. Love is a beautiful emotion. I agree. But what about communication? What about respect? What about empathy? These are the skills which will be required to complete that love and to keep it going. Otherwise, love will be buried under all the stress of everyday life.
I agree. So, is that where your second course comes in?
So, there the second course is called Happy Habits.
I love the
This-
name, by the way.
Happy habits. Yeah, like normally people say healthy habits. I want to say happy habits. Why happy habits came about was, as I said, I have clients coming from, being married for 2, 3 years to being married for 15 to 20 years. So the habits which were there or which they thought were cute at the earlier stage started bothering them. And as you're evolving, now they are all both growing at their own pace also. The relationship is growing and they are both growing at their own pace. Sometimes when you start focusing on your relationship goal and your career goals, you realize that if you take care smaller habits, the gains are much more.
Of course.
So I have this entire program. It is just like a 2-session program in which I would give them the manual to work on it,
Okay.
to see what are the goals, what are the habits that, will inculcate a better relationship and a better career goals for yourself.
Okay.
Sometimes they, while growing in a relationship, they even grow apart
Oh,
because
really? Okay.
they are evolving. And that conversation is slowly dying down, and people are not realizing that minor shifts and building smaller habits can, be very, very beneficial. So that is the reason. That's how happy habits came
Happy
about.
habits came in. Very,
Yes.
very nice. Going back to the question of going to a psychologist and taking emotional help is still tabooed,
Yeah.
right? So how are you facing and how are you taking care of this challenge when someone first comes to you and letting them know that it's okay to take help?
So what happens is when somebody a person is referred to me, they come with these preconceived notions and ideas that she's going to be sitting on judgment. And she's going to look at us and some sort of have judging us. But the moment they come in, they realize that what I provide is a very, very safe environment for them to be who they are. There is never any kind of prodding. It's a very organic process, They can speak as much as they like. It's never going to be so much deep digging in the first session itself till they do not feel comfortable that, okay, this is what is. There are times when somebody comes to me with a particular challenge, not realizing that there is an underlying issue due to which they feel this is the challenge.
Correct.
So when I start working with them, the first session is usually more like, if they can understand that I can trust this person.
Mm.
It is very, very important.
Okay.
Otherwise, the deep rooted emotions, fears that they have, that is not very easy.
Of
And
course.
to talk about it to a stranger.
Naturally.
Sometimes it becomes easier for some people to talk about it to a stranger.
Correct.
So it works both ways.
Both ways. I think nowadays a lot of people, they really do like coming
Yeah,
and talking
coming.
to a stranger, because they know at the end of the day they don't know any of those people.
Exactly.
So might as well just go and vomit it out there. And another thing is that some people are scared that what if they use it against us? So that can become a challenge that just will hold right here. Now, when somebody does come to you, what's the framework that you follow? So, like, tell me exactly when someone comes to you for your counseling, what are your processes, and how long does it take?
So, see that counseling, coaching, therapy, these are three different ways of working. Just to give you a little understanding of how different a counseling and a coaching would be. For counselor, you work with a person from the past to the present. The coach works from the present to the future. These are two different ways of working with them. So the moment a client or a person comes to us, I need to evaluate. Sometimes they feel that they are looking for a counselor, but they might only be looking for a coach. There is only certain roadblocks which need to be navigated.
Okay.
And sometimes they come looking for a coach, and then I realize through my way of working with them that there is a lot of childhood issues and traumas. So that's when the counseling bit comes in. For counseling, you can never be, committed that there are only 3 sessions or 4 sessions is what is going to be, helpful.
But so what would be a difference between the coaching and counseling?
Okay, so coaching has a structured framework.
Okay.
When the client comes to you, they know what it is that they're exactly looking for.
Like they come with a mindset.
They come with the mindset, this is all that I need to work with, and that is how the coach is going to see. Even if there are other areas which need work, but if the client comes with a fixed mindset that this is all that I want sorted, we will work maybe a 6 to 8 week program. There are various programs designed depending on what is it that they're looking for. But for a counseling client, you cannot be sure because as you work, there will be many layers which get unearthed. And that is how you slowly take them, as I said, from the digging down from the past to the present.
Correct.
So that is never a very easy journey for anybody. It's a very slow process, but yes, it works on them.
Let me ask you a very hard-hitting question. You take counseling. Are you crazy?
Not at all. I'm taking counseling because I'm not crazy. I would do it because I want to become more stronger, more clearer. And I'm going to be very proud about the fact that I'm seeking counseling. I give my clients this kind of an analogy or a comparison for them to make it a little more clearer to a layman. Giving them the example of going to a gym. You go to a gym to build muscles.
Yes.
You can go to a counselor to build emotional strength. And that will help you in your relationship, in your personal outlook towards life. So it is something like that. If you're not well, you cannot go to a gym.
Naturally.
You're going to add on value to yourself. You want something physically. So similarly, it works on your mental space also.
Correct. I completely agree. I'm very well kept. I wanted to put you on spot and ask you that particular question because
I'm so glad. I hope this clears up for a lot of people. Because just as your physical body needs nourishment and nurturing, so does your mind.
Correct.
There are everyday stressors which act upon your mental framework. Mind has more than 60,000 thoughts.
Of course.
And there can be so many stressful events that are happening in your life. And what are you doing about it? Mostly people just want to brush it under the carpet.
Exactly.
Ki kal subah alag din hoga to ye nahi hoga.
Right.
But
So when is the right time to know that, okay, this is a time that I want counseling or coaching?
There is never, a right time. If you keep waiting, life is always going to be a little bit messy, a little bit overwhelming and all that. If you keep waiting for the right time, that means you're waiting forever.
So there's no right time.
There's
Just
no right
whenever
time.
you feel that it's there, it's
Whenever
there.
you feel, and you should reach out to someone like that, because the stars are never going to be aligned towards taking you to the counselor or
Of
someone.
course,
Yeah.
of course.
So
All right. Recently in India, there's a lot of intercaste marriage that's going on. Hindus and Muslims are getting married together, being together. What are your thoughts on that and how do you help them out?
Luckily or unluckily, I would say I have all kinds of people who have come to me. I would like to talk in terms of only the urban setup here, because the rural and they have their own kind of challenges, which I wish I could help them reach out to. Over here, the counseling is not so much for for the couple, but it's more so for the families that are involved. So when I do my premarital coaching, and when such interreligion or intercaste people, they come to me, after a couple of sessions, it is very important for me to get the families on board, because they have to know what is it that they are going to be dealing with. It's not just for the girl side, it is very important for the boy side as well, that they have to be able to accept wholeheartedly it is going to be for the rest of their lives and for generations to come. In our country, it just stays over there. So I even have some people who will come and say कि हमारी दादी ने किया था. So they want to just project that we are really forward thinking. But right now we are not able to accept the fact that my son wants to marry somebody who is not from the same religion. So nothing against them. What happens is, it is how to deal with the unknown, because we are also used to living in a particular kind of a setup. We don't know what is happening in your neighbor's home. So knowing what is happening in a different religion, it is a very challenging thing. So one just needs to be prepared. That's all.
So can you help them? If somebody out there, which I know many people are, so can they come to you and you can actually help them break it down to their families that this is what's happening?
In my coaching program, when I have interreligion people, intercaste, then there is an entire session where I make them work through their generations and understand their cultural similarity and differences.
Okay.
You would find it hard to believe, Kabir, if people spend time understanding each other's, I would say, culture, not religion. In India, there are so many similar grounds which people, unless you speak about it, you do not realize it.
Okay.
I'm telling you, there are like Jains and Muslims. I hope I don't get bashed up by the Muslim community here, but there is quite a lot of similarity in the way they look out for the human race.
I agree.
The way-
I am a Muslim and I completely agree to it, because there is so many things that we do very similarly.
So this has been, my learning, I would say, from my clients also. When they are sharing that how they are living their life, and when I'm trying to get them on a common ground, it becomes very easy for them to become accepting of each other's faiths.
Right.
I would like to point out one more thing over here. There was a time when it was all just looked upon that the girl will have to embrace the other religion, But I can tell you that now the awareness has become such that they're very happily practicing.
I think this is a great example for you and I as well, right? Because I think the same way you follow still
Yes,
Muslim
absolutely.
Bhakti still. So if you come to my home, I have Quran and I have a mandir.
Wow.
And I'm bowing down in front of her gods and she's bowing down in front of mine.
Exactly.
It's absolutely okay.
So the humanity should understand,
Exactly.
no religion will ever teach you to downgrade or, be disrespectful or someone else. It is not of that. Of course, the society and,
It's a different thought process. Yeah, that's okay.
Yes.
That's like a long conversation that
long
we can have.
conversation,
But
absolutely.
we can probably go with a different podcast there of how the thought process comes. Let me ask you a few questions as we come to the conclusion of the podcast. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
See, they can reach out to me. I have my own website, Life Coach Nasreen, or DM me on my Insta, Marriage Coach Nasreen. That's where they can find me.
Okay, great. So we'll have that in the description so that you guys can reach out to
Yes,
you as well. I loved your conversation
It
today.
was great being
Yeah.
here.
I'm so glad. As being a manifestation coach myself, I work a lot with relationship and help people get a better
Mm.
relationship. I think this podcast today, I could have taken for a couple of hours
Me too.
because the
I think
conversation
the
is
discussion
never
was,
ending.
like, really
I think
awesome.
even before the podcast, I think we spoke for a good 15-20 minutes and we were like,
Absolutely.
"Arey, okay, it's not." And the crazy part was that what we spoke about there, we have not literally spoken about here.
Exactly. There's so much to talk on
There's
this.
so much to talk about
Yes.
this particular thing, and I really love
I
that.
would love to be back and have a much more deeper conversation on this
Absolutely.
topic.
Yeah, no, absolutely works like, and it's as many people as we can reach.
Yes.
So thank you for giving your time today, Nasreen. I really
My
am
pleasure.
so grateful to you. And for my audience here, I'm so happy and grateful that you have stuck with me till the end, and I appreciate that you have enjoyed this particular podcast. Relationship is a very tricky thing where it can be done and solved in such a simple way. But we are the one who make it complicated. And I'm not even sure why, because it's not a complicated thing. As a manifestation coach, I would say that the best thing you can do for yourself is just watch this podcast with your loved one, not only your spouse, but your girlfriend, your family, your parents, so you know things are heading towards. Well, I hope you have enjoyed the podcast today. Share this with your friends, family, loved ones. We're on in YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and 11 plus audio platforms as well. Well, until the next podcast.
This isn't just a podcast, it's a catalyst, a space where your business story can become someone's turning point. I'm Kabir, and this is the Kabir Vani Business Edition. Your voice, your impact forever.